we're looking for here is not to solve every conceivable problem, but to find out where we are. We opened the cultural center up for permitting, and we're in the process of learning how to do it better and better, given the constraints of the space.
Right. Just before we ask Donna to address the experience, I just want to mention that, you know, this was sort of a soft opening. We opened earlier than we might have wanted to try to accommodate people wanting to use the space. So there are certain elements of the management of that space that are still being worked out, and just hope folks understand that.
Okay, so Don, is anyone using it?
We have 4 executed permits right now. The quarter runs through the end of June, and we have 2 more pending permits that will start in the next couple weeks. So it's a little, you know, but again, like Francis said, you know, it's a soft open, and I don't anticipate a huge rush for the summer, but I think the fall is going to be our first sort of big test to see how everything goes.
So 2 groups are using it now.
4.
4 groups are using it now, and 2 additional groups will be using it starting next quarter.
No, they're actually coming in before the end of this quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's 6 groups.
And the next permitting period opens in June?
We are accepting permits for July, August, and September on May 21st, May 21st to 31st. And that's all online, and we'll send out an advisory as well to encourage people to apply.
Which groups are you using?
We have Main Street Theater, Rabbi Zalman's group, we have Music with James. It's a little children's music program, from my understanding, and a speech therapy class.
And the 2 additional?
The other Jewish congregation. Yeah, who are the other 2?
We have the Islamic Society coming in June, and we have Hope Church, who has a couple of dates here and there before the end.
And we don't have the original Jewish congregation that was there before you? There
was a concern with storage, which we're trying to work out. We're in the process of ordering storage lockers to address some of the concerns about things staying in the spaces. So that's a work in progress.
Well, I guess it's a work in progress. So,
Nina has requested a meeting to walk through the space either next week or the week after, and so we're trying to just nail down a time to do that.
Okay, so one of the particular concerns with the Jewish congregation is that they had the beam, the structure in place, and they also had chairs.
Here's the pictures.
And what about the
Well, that's the outside was different.
These all the same? No.
No, they're different. That's the sanctuary, the way it looked when it was a sanctuary.
Well, as we understand our requirements as a state entity, we don't have dedicated spaces for religious institutions. We have, however, find ways of groups using the space that they need, and that's what we would like to accomplish. So, for example, the Bema is a large fixed space, but in keeping with other organizations I'm aware of, there's a way of rendering it, for lack of a better term, neutral, when it's not being used for ceremonial purpose.
I mean, if you look at anything aside from the memorial board and the 2 lions on top of the bema, and then everything there, to me, there's nothing there that is religious. There's no Stars of David, there's no crucifix. You know, we have a memorial board, which of course we have. The lions. Zalman, are lions religious? On top of those? Really?
Some lines
I'm not responding. Depends on whether the lions were circumcised. My response should have no bearing on the conversation.
Anyhow, so I mean, this is, you know, this was.
we're waiting for, then I don't get it. What are we gonna do with
I mean,
storage?
this is seats 40 people, about 40 to 45 people comfortably at this point. When we would open it up for the holidays into the dance studio, we could see well over 100 people. And the doors all open, you know, spread out and open. So that's what it looked like for 20 years.
One thing that would be helpful to us is to get the actual physical dimensions of
Everything is in storage, I can't measure it, it's all in Moishe's storage. But it takes up about, I would say, a little more than about a third, 25 to 30% of the corner of the room. But you still get 40 chairs in there.
But it's,
The
I
room
mean,
is
it could be
620
a room
square
for
feet.
speeches and presentations
We've
and things
used it
like
for
that
other
without,
things.
This is,
so what is it, I'm not understanding what it is
this
we're,
is.
From
we're
what
standing away
the
for.
same thing.
I have been told, the idea is that each of the cultural center spaces is a blank slate for the next organization that may or may not want to use it. A group particularly introducing any sort of permanent structures in it would inhibit its use for other things.
I mean, I get that, but I think there are still, I mean, if you had a classroom, you could leave desks in there, or if we had, computer areas, what the heck do they call them, corrals, that anybody could use. Why couldn't we have this as the presentation room, or the, any group
Well,
who wants
Well,
to.
that might work better if it were in a different room
Well, let's
instead of a
see,
dance studio.
let's see what's
Oh,
being requested,
Right.
let's
This is not
request.
dance studio.
it's not in
Well,
the dance
no,
studio?
no.
It's not in any of the,
It's in, I thought it's in the front room.
It's
With
the
the
room facing
open-
the rocks. It's
Right.
the- Yeah, that's the building part we used for every week. Only time we went to the dance studio was for the high holidays.
I think RIOC actually considers the 3 rooms with the wooden floors and the mirrors to be dance
But
studios.
there's no mirror in that room.
but there's a wooden floor.
Right.
Okay.
And it's a tile floor, it's not a wood.
But
Oh, it's-
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, no, it's,
I mean,
Look,
I think we have to-
these
it's-
are details that we'll
Okay.
we'll be working through with the follow-up meetings. This
Yeah.
is not the time to do it, but this is the time to discuss the fact that we have multi-purpose space. And we have a need for flexibility so that other groups are able to share in their turn the use of the space. And we also have 7 spaces?
7 total, yeah.
7 total spaces of various sizes available.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'd like to find ways that they're all usable.
I'm just having my hard time wrapping my head around why this couldn't still be a multi-purpose room with that in there for some, I mean, you use the same logic for a dance studio, but let me finish. If there's a wooden floor, anybody can use that wooden floor, whether they're gonna dance or not on it. So if this platform is up there, anybody can use that platform, whether they're gonna
Right.
preach or not. I
So
mean,
then one of the
so what's the
considerations is
problem?
how much of the room does it take up? And how much room, is it still usable for those purposes? And if it is, then that obviously helps tremendously.
This was beautiful furniture.
Yeah,
And you
it's-
hate to see it rendered.
It's completely custom made, it fits right into the room. I don't even know what condition the platform is on because some
I
of the
did
stuff.
see a,
And it's just, I mean, anyone
I'm
could
gonna
use
finish
it
my
for
sentence,
presentation. I'm
actually.
sorry, David.
I do recall seeing a Tai Chi class being held in that space. Even with all this stuff in place there, they just ignored it and worked to a different direction. So that kind of speaks towards
Yeah.
your view. On the other hand,
Well, I mean, I think there's some places.
on the other hand,
Yes, David.
I could see where if the only space available by reservation was that space and there's an Islamic group that was gonna be the last space, they might not wanna have to face this. Or even a Christian group.
It's
not really a very religious-
Christian or religious about
That's
it,
not
it's a
something
podium.
religious.
That looks like, that could be an
Well, that-
auditorium
but
in
that's-
school.
Yeah,
That's
but then
all-
the name is on the roof.
These are for
Here, we should
discussion,
discuss this.
with looking at the size of it, looking at the features of it, and seeing if it could be a neutral
Did I
feature.
say on the one hand and on the other hand?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, you did.
So new.
I just
So-
feel like we've been discussing this forever, and it's not gonna change,
Ah.
I mean, they look like that.
I
That's a Jewish
don't
job.
understand why every single room has to be multi-use. If you have one room that's a nice room for presentations,
Right.
for religious group, for anyone who wants to do a presentation that seats 40 people, this could be an ideal room. We even have chairs on order, because we ordered chairs the week before the flood, literally. And they have been on order, thousands of dollars of chairs are on order for this space, and they're sitting not made yet, but paid for. And this is a perfect space for any group that wants to have a nice presentation room. It doesn't, personally, I would be sad if I found a kids group in there running around with crayons and stuff, because this has been my home for 20 years. And I think that this is perfectly suitable for any group that wants to have a presentation and use the space. We've used it for many spaces. The Catholic parish used it for a few months at one point for their early morning service. And I mean, we have our decor there, but if you take down some of our decor, it's perfectly neutral for anyone that wants a nice business meeting, a nice space.
Right, the women's
We-
movement group could have.
We also have tables and chairs for the classroom.
Yeah,
We have
This
a
is-
ton of
this is what
furniture
we're
for the.
hoping to work out.
Well,
Because we already own stuff.
Look, the intent is to work this out. The intent is to have more meetings.
More
Just like-
meetings.
Well, everyone loves more meetings, me especially, everyone. So, I'm of the opinion that we can work this out, and I'd like to be proven right
I'd like
for
to be
change.
part of working this out, cause I gotta
Thank
tell
you,
you,
Margie.
I'm kinda up to here with us not having worked this out yet.
Hmm.
And I'm not
It's
even
only been
Jewish,
4 years.
but, no, I mean, we all knew this was gonna be a problem, and I believe it or not, Judy, I'm agreeing with you. I think every room has to be available for people to use, it doesn't mean every one of them has to be used for the same purpose, just like the theater. You couldn't go in and, you know, have a, have a dance in there, cause you're in a room, you can't have everything in every room. But the fact that it's available and open to the public, to anybody who wants to use a room that's set up like that, they're welcome to, so.
Otherwise, the
So-
place looks too sterile, really.
So,
I mean, I think
let's
it's,
have a
I
presentation.
agree with Margie.
About what it is and where, and talk about what the sizes are, what the possibilities are. Chairs can be in, chairs can be out, and that sort of thing. So let's see what uses could be made in the space with some of these elements added back in, maybe all of them added back in at different times. But how have the groups found, there are 7 spaces, and you say there are 4 groups, so there.
We've had some changes to permits after people have been in spaces and they've realized that, oh, maybe this isn't the best room
Space.
for us. So we've tried to adjust and adapt and move people where they wanted to be instead. And it's a learning process, and I have a feeling that will continue to happen, and we'll try to accommodate where we can. But otherwise, we're working out a more firm maintenance schedule, so the space is maintained and kept up.
schedule.
Yeah.
Have there
Can
been
I say
challenges?
something?
Yes.
We've been using this space now for 3 weeks, and Donna's been doing a fantastic job, both communicating and sometimes I know that her communication devices hasn't always been up to par to with internet issues with her moving offices, but she was always available to make changes and for the ongoing conversation. And for the record, I'd like to thank her for all of her work.
Thank you.
The bottom line is she is the face on the ground now, actually sitting in the space, and was probably all the complaints are gonna come to her too. So I want to recognize her time and effort that she puts into it. And I know it's not only the permitting dot spaces, but we've been doing permits for quite a few years already in different spaces.
Place on Roosevelt Island.
Thank
you.
Place on
Thank you very
Roosevelt
much.
Island.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so has the space been in perfect condition at this time?
No.
It's a work in progress.
Well, are there floods from time to time?
We have battled, I'm gonna believe that there's only been one minor one since I've been in there. I think we probably had some overzealous kids in the bathroom splashing around. So I won't consider that one, but just one so far. And it was pretty minor. So far so good.
Okay. Okay, good. So the space is being used by community groups, soon to be half a dozen, maybe more. And then we'll try to see it expanded.
Yeah,
Try to expand the use.
we have some things as far as access control is concerned to work out. We have a meeting with the appropriate parties next week to sort of discuss how people are going to really be accessing this space. Currently, everyone who has a permit is going to public safety. Public safety has a key. they're sort of letting the permit holder in. And we're gonna try to come up with a better system that.
We are gonna come up with a better system.
Well, it's gotta get more difficult.
And directional signs one day.
And directional signs, they are being worked on
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
Oh, the ideal signs.
Say,
Oh, just one more thing,
embarrassing.
whoever came up to name the rooms is brilliant. It's, all appropriate names, so I don't know who came up with the idea, but Warwick Room, the Lighthouse Room, etc. And whoever's gonna make the signs is gonna make it easier. And I think we should also have, something that
It was
should
a
be
committee.
specified when people are in, which room you're gonna be in, with a name on the room.
That will help immensely.
That would help
Yeah.
immensely.
I foresee the ideal would be that every space was in use 10 or 15 hours a day. That required scheduling and maintenance and all the rest of it, and that's the kind of stuff we're gonna be facing in the future. But it's a community center, cultural center, whatever kind of center. And it's the space that people are gonna gradually migrate towards, I think. And eventually, everybody will automatically look to that place first, but they need space for something. And we're in constant use. It should be.
Well, ideally, there'll be a core of spaces that's part of it. Blackwell House could be someday part of that too.
Sure, super.
And Shepherd will be
Right.
pretty
Part
good
of
when,
that. Right.
when operating rooms are
I
The
was just
energy
gonna
there
add-
Saturday morning is very positive and very strong and very nice, and I was not usually there for that part.
What, you mean for Shabbos or for other activities?
The whole, there's people coming, going, rehearsals, music, practice, kids, adults, young, old, walking, it's a very positive energy.
We are sort of looking at the cultural center and Good Shepherd as a network of public space available, and once Blackwell is up and running, then we can add that sort of to the mix, so that we're balancing out the use among all of those different facilities.
And if Blackwell gets finished, I know.
Becky,
Question.
Keely?
When groups are in certain rooms, are they responsible for cleaning up for themselves?
Every
And
room
is
should be
there-
left as as it was originally supposed to be. You should every group will be responsible for cleaning up. Obviously, we'll have mechanisms in place as far as garbage removal at the end of the day and whatnot. But for everybody should be responsible for the space.
They should leave the room in the same condition.
Yes.
And I don't know this personally, but word on the street is that certain rooms have been left
Yes.
not in the way they got it, and I'm just wondering how it's, being maintained and
That will be easier to monitor now that there is a bit of a RIOC presence in the space. I just, myself, my assistant and I, we just moved in there earlier this week. So we're in there now. And as it gets busier and as things pick up, people will keep an eye on each other, I think, to a certain extent as well. So it will happen. And again, once we have our maintenance plan better in place, that will obviously help keep things cleaner as well.
And that responsibility is reflected in their permit, that they are expected to leave the space in the condition they find it. Now, if they find it in bad condition, then that gets a little tricky. But as Donna said, a combination of, that language in the permit and the ability to monitor those that respect it and those that don't, and obviously the potential ramification of not respecting it is you don't get to permit the space again.
Just one other thing I want to put as an individual, resident of Roosevelt Island, just as there's other spaces to be permitted that it has a fixed setting. It means the Good Shepherd has pews. If I'm going to permit the swimming pool, there's a swimming pool inside and there's no expectation of other uses. No? Sorry.
There
I was
is
not there.
benches there.
Well,
Yeah.
chairs, fixed chairs, etc. So I do think.
They can be stacked up and moved up.
Sorry, so I didn't. But the swimming pool has a swimming pool, and there's no other much other uses, and the gym is a gym. It could make sense that there could be rooms that retain a certain setup.
We'll talk about that.
Right, I'm saying it's not I don't see it beyond the.
And that's exactly why we're able to even consider it,
Right.
for
I'm saying
exactly that
there's
reason.
multiple rooms and if
No,
one
we'll
trains a certain.
consider, as we see. We're trying to try to move this quickly.
I'm older than him.
And not getting any younger.
Damn right. No, the only other thing is storage, because as you see there's some bookcases. And the important thing is that people who wanna come down and use the space have to have a decent amount of space to store things, because there's just no way, we've been living out of a shopping cart for the last 3 years. And, it's not a good way to run any kind of organization. A decent amount of space has to be allocated that's secure for organizations to put their books, to put their supplies in. We used to have an office to do that, and they tore out almost all the closets there. And it's just really hard to expect people to come down schlepping everything every week, especially, so that's another thing
Storage is being
for.
examined.
Right,
The-
Donna indicated.
The plan that has sort of been discussed is that we would order, I don't want it to sound as uninviting as it may sound, but we're gonna get cages that are
I know
see-through.
what they are.
And so they come, they're 3x3,
Yeah.
and they're very tall. And I think that will be sufficient, that we'll have enough of them that if you need to have more than one, we can arrange for you to have more than one, but they're roomy.
But it will allow people to secure items on the premises.
But not for
and
free.
That would be permitted and only available to permitted users of the community. So if you wanted to put your summer wardrobe in there in the winter, that's not gonna work unless you're already a permitted user.
Just regarding the pricing of the space, have you done any analysis whether or not the groups that want the space have been able to afford it? Have there been groups that can't afford it that maybe?
I think it's a little too early to make that any serious determination on that, but so far we have been able to accommodate everyone who has come forth and requested a permit, so.
There are interested groups who can't pay for the space. Unfortunately, I think that especially our not-for-profit resident rates are very reasonable. We certainly, I think, worked out a compromise on that. And we are already not operating this space for a profit. The maintenance fees, the electricity, all of these things, do require some sort of payment, but I think that it's more than reasonable with the resident not-for-profit rate.
Right, I guess my statement really was with respect to resident users.
Right.
Not with respect to off-island or, yeah.
I've been told by the parents group that they can't really afford to use the space for some of their programs, and they were wondering if anything could be done for the parents group.
I've spoken with them, and I've made suggestions as far as fundraising tactics, different ways to sort of raise the funds required for space rental.
They're also, as I understand it, not organized into a not-for-profit. And so they need to figure something out about that too. It should not be an obstacle.
Which would facilitate that.
They should find a way. That's another discussion. Anyway, I'd like to move the agenda